What's good, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the What's Good Games podcast. Your source for video game news, commentary, analysis, and funny stuff every Monday right here on twitch.tv/whatsgoodgames, 11 a.m. Pacific time. I'm Andrea Renee, joined by Miss Christine Steimer.
Hello.
For her very first What's Good Games Live.
Yes.
Super exciting.
My real job took the week off. Woo!
But I filled her schedule with other things.
Yes,
She's
she
very
did.
excited about it. And Brittany Brombacher is here.
Hello, I'm always here.
That's true. And we have very special guest, Elyse Willems from Funhaus.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I feel super excited that Steimer's here. That's like a special occasion.
It is.
That's a big deal.
I'm
That's
excited
true.
that you're here, so we can just be excited about each other.
I mean, the two of you want to do the show. That's cool. We can just Andrew and I can just peace out and you can just talk about how excited you are.
Steimer and Elyse show. That sounds great.
Hey, if you want to run all of the production and put all of the notes together, you are more than welcome to do the Elyse and Steimer show.
We'll discuss offline.
I will say though that Brittany and I, in the brief moment when we were getting the show set up, or Andrea was getting the show set up, not us at all, and you couldn't hear us. We did rebrand the show to be What's Dog Games, a show about dog news and.
Why not just What's Good Dogs?
They're all good.
It's going to be great. We're going to put our dogs in the chair, put the microphone up to them, and we're just going to let them run a podcast.
I think it sounds great.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm into
Do
it.
Elyse.
And if you guys are joining us live in the chat, first off, thank you so much for joining us. I see a lot of familiar faces that were in the chat with Steimer and I as we were having some utter shenanigans yesterday during my belated birthday stream. Lots of fun clips if you guys want to see some of those. I tweeted one of the funnier ones, that PSW clip. Thank you so much, PSW. I see you in the chat. Hello. And we do have just a slight audio sync issue with them coming in on Skype. We're going to get that fixed, of course, for podcast and YouTube. But thanks for bearing with us. We were just having a few internet chugging issues this morning, but we have lots of news to get to. But before we do that, we want to quickly run over just a couple of announcements. If you guys missed the news, one Rihanna Manuel and I are going to be streaming the entirety of Halo, the Master Chief Collection. We are making our way through Combat Evolved right now, and those streams are going to be Monday nights starting at 5 p.m. Pacific time, including today. So hopefully you guys will join us for our Halo playthroughs in the lead up to Halo Infinite. And then, of course, I decided to rebrand my Wednesday stream to just Afternoons with Andrea, because I realized that there's going to be probably lots of games that I want to play that aren't just Animal Crossing. So instead of having to be Andrea's Animal Crossing afternoon, it'll be Afternoons with Andrea, and then, I'll let you guys know which game I'm going to be playing. But that's going to be fun. So that's continuing Wednesdays at 1 p.m. This Wednesday specifically is going to start just a teeny bit later because I'm taking part in a hands-on preview event that I can't tell you about yet. But I'll tell you about it soon when the embargo is up. And then, of course, we are getting special guest Rebecca Valentine on the show. She was supposed to be on the show last week, had a little bit of a scheduling change because of the state of play, but she will be on the show this week. So once again, if you have questions for her, whatsgoodgames.com/dearwgg. And of course, that is a great place to drop questions you have for Elyse as well. We will be monitoring the chat, but as you guys know, sometimes it's difficult to keep up with all of the emotes like the butts that Yasman is once again throwing into the chat.
All the butts.
All of the butts.
There were a lot of dogs earlier, though, so that was
There
a good
were.
time.
That's my derpy boy. Oh, I love him so much.
Oh, yes. Derp Reb. Brittany, did I miss anything? I think I got everything.
You got it. You nailed it like a hammer. To a nail.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, Elyse, for people who may not know you, I obviously said that you're from Funhaus, but Elyse and I had the pleasure of working together during our stint at Game Trailers. So Elyse, part of the longtime Game Trailers team, many of which who went on to found Easy Allies, if you guys are familiar with that channel. But we got to work on a show that you produced called Ladies in the Lobby. That's still one of my favorite projects I've ever been a part of.
You were amazing in it, by the way.
Aw, thanks.
Because it's a lot of that show, which was kind of we love video games in the style of a VH1, we love the 90s or whatever. And it was very anecdotal, and your stories were all super fun and funny, and some really heartfelt ones too, just because of your relationship with gaming. But my one regret with that show was that we didn't get all of those ladies together talking.
Yeah.
Which at the time it was like a scheduling thing and a whole, it was already a little bit ambitious to get everyone involved. But you guys, I feel like What's Good Games is the dream realized.
The spiritual successor.
Having cool women talking about games together. But yeah, I started at Game Trailers and worked there for 4 years, and then came to Funhaus and Rooster Teeth, where we do mostly comedy focused, not as much news focused, which is why doing something like this with you guys is really fun, because I don't get to do it that much.
Flexes those old news muscles. But you appear on Inside Gaming from time to time, though, right? Yeah, back when I was the No, I would occasionally stand in and write episodes if the regular writer was out. But not too much on Inside Gaming, though. I really love that channel, and I really, really love everybody that's working there. They're like fun, and they're young, and they know memes that I've never heard of in my life.
I can relate to that.
So yes. Mostly it's like a half like gaming news, half meme source for me. But,
meme source.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. And the people in the chat are pointing out that there is a secret James behind you, because we can just see the top of his hair.
Yeah, you guys all got a big dose of James in our Funhaus Feud video.
Oh,
you got to list all your favorite things about James.
Oh, that was so funny.
That was a great time.
I felt so embarrassed when he was doing that. Obviously, I think that there are like really wonderful things about James, obviously. But I was like, why is he subjecting them to this? Like, they don't know him.
For the comedy, I guess.
I was like, this isn't like a fun, charming thing for them. You know? But you guys are great, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I thank you. And if you guys did miss that episode of Funhaus Feud where we appeared and competed against some of the ladies from Funhaus, you can check it, of course, at youtube.com/funhaus. And we will put that link in the show notes if you guys missed that episode. It's a fun one. Definitely recommend if you want to get angry about foods that people eat with their hands.
Yes.
And things they don't do with their hands, like wash them.
Yeah. Our audience loved you guys.
Oh, good.
It's like a hit. I always get nervous when we have guests, but it was pretty universal.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Universal
shout out to Ree for organizing that with you and for getting it all set up. I'm really glad that you guys were able to make that happen. It was really fun.
Yeah, we got to do it again. We have other game show stuff if y'all are interested.
We're ready.
We love a good game show.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm down. But for now, why don't we get into the news? We will chat more with Elyse later on in the Dear WGG segment of the show. Brittany, do you want to kick us off with this Microsoft story?
I don't want to kick anything, but I will read the story.
Okay.
Okay. Microsoft new Xbox Series X console confirmed in leaked controller packaging via The Verge. Microsoft is rumored to be unveiling its second cheaper next-gen Xbox console this month, and it looks like it will definitely be called Xbox Series S. The Verge has obtained photos of Microsoft's new next-gen Xbox controller in white, complete with packaging that mentions the Xbox Series S. Twitter user Zach S. was able to purchase the controller today, and we've confirmed it's genuine. The new controller was sold on a resale site today, and the side of the packaging notes that the controller works with Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S consoles. Microsoft has not officially unveiled an Xbox Series S yet, nor has the company even confirmed a white Xbox Series X controller. A mysterious white Xbox Series X controller also appeared online last month, complete with the new D-pad, textured triggers, and new share button. This leak matches the previous controller leak, and retail packaging suggests that this could be appearing in stores soon. Quote, "We have a lot in store for Xbox in 2020 and can't wait to share with you," says a Microsoft spokesperson in a statement to The Verge. However, we have nothing to announce at this time. So if you look on your Twitter, well, my Twitter timeline in particular, and I'm sure yours as well, there are just a lot of videos of these controllers being unboxed and touched and flipped around, and I'm not sure where
we're watching one right now.
They're being manhandled.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where they're all exactly coming from. I thought I had read something about stores being looted, and the thought is maybe they were in stock at that Best Buy that was being looted. Who knows? Because the rumored release, there was a rumor that the Series S was going to come out in August, I believe. So if that was to be believed, or maybe it's gotten pushed back anyway, there's some rumored evidence that these controllers could be in stock at stores. Who could say? But if you look at the controller itself, Elyse, I think you actually have an Elite controller on your desk, don't you? Because the D-pad for this new one looks very similar to that. I mean, at least it does it from this photo. And there is a share button in the middle. And other than that, it looks incredibly similar.
It does.
Yeah.
Which is fine with me, honestly. I don't mind that. I'm happy the DualShock is getting a makeover, because that controller has always kind of made my hands cramp after too long. But the Xbox controller, I have no issues with. It's actually why it's my preferred console to play on, because I find the controller so much more comfortable.
Yeah. I broke my hand in 2010. And prior to that, I really liked the PlayStation controller because it was smaller. I have small hands. But since my hands kind of changed, I find the Xbox like much more comfortable. Like, I don't know, there's something about it that just works better for me now.
Yeah, I think that this controller looks great. I mean, I love the white. I think the D-pad is something I might have to get used to, but I know it's something that I think a lot of gamers, particularly, more esports focused players, want those, those little side pieces between the D-pad to do specific move sets on. It is weird that there's so many of them out in the wild, and like that one person posted that they bought one on OfferUp for $35.
What?
And I was like,
a great deal.
I was like, that's a steal for any controller, let alone a controller for an unreleased console.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that was somebody who didn't know what they had, and they were just like, it's an Xbox controller.
It's a hot controller. I stole this. I need to offload it quickly.
Pretty much. I mean, I feel like that is when you know it's stolen merchandise, is someone selling it for $30 on some weird website. You're just like, sure, I'll take that. And they just think it's probably the current Xbox controller because they look so similar.
Yeah.
But then part of me wonders, like, are you buying oregano here? It was that someone just take an Xbox controller and then crack it open, do some modifications externally to try to cheat a unreleased controller.
I feel like putting a button on is pretty extensive.
Is it just a fabricated thing? They did some modifications to and make up that story. I don't know.
It's interesting for people who aren't familiar with what OfferUp is. It's essentially like a Let's Go or a Craigslist where you post pictures and then people in your vicinity can, buy items from you. And I've seen some very suspicious television posts on there before, like, come to my garage where I have all of these TVs and boxes that you can buy for just a couple $100s. And I'm like, that feels like you took that off of someone's truck somewhere.
They just fell off. I didn't take anything.
Yeah.
But I think that this is, sorry, go ahead, Brittany.
Oh, no, I was going to say the back of the box, there are also photos of that if anyone's interested. The D-pad is just described as refined yet familiar input. Nothing really great there. And the share button, capture and share content seamlessly. And then it goes on about how there's Xbox wireless and Bluetooth support and the textured grip. And that's kind of it. That's all I was going to say. Also, don't forget it supports USB-C and batteries, which I really like, because I forget to charge my controllers all the time because I'm an ass. So while I appreciate the USB-C, I like the battery support. They're like a lifeline.
I'm with you. I feel like that is something that's great, but I think that we're just at a point now, especially with sustainability, that we need to move away from using AA's in controllers, especially if they have a USB-C. That technology is known for being able to keep a charge longer. Think about the charge that you get on a Nintendo Pro controller versus the charge you get on either the Xbox or the PlayStation controllers. I feel like I only have to charge my Pro controller like every couple of days versus if I do one big session with my DualShock, it lasts maybe 3 to 4 hours before I have to plug it in. So I'm hoping, like, I appreciate your point of view that you're like, oh, my battery dies and I only have that one controller and I don't have a cable that's long enough. Then I can just put some batteries in. But I have a giant plastic bag where I keep all of my dead batteries before I bulk take them for battery recycling, because you're not supposed to put batteries in the trash, which a lot of people don't know. And I think that it just encourages people to keep using, wasteful things that are harmful to the environment. But just my 2 cents.
Yes.
Yep.
I instinctively plug in the DualShock after every time I use it because I don't trust it to hold a charge ever. I love the texture on the Elite.
Yes.
I think it's great. I'm super happy about that. And I think everything should be Type-C.
Yes.
And maybe it's because I'm on Android, and so I like having all of my wires. I can just have one setup to charge, but I'm all for that.
Well, a lot of Mac stuff is going to Type-C now too, which I'm definitely a fan of. Like, I have my MacBook here on set that is all Type-C plugs. So, I mean, I'm down for Type C. I would love to get universal USB standardization if that's a pipe dream that ever was.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll keep an eye on this. I'm assuming that we'll probably get an official statement from Microsoft at some point because they seem to be just floating rampantly through the wild.
Yes.
But our next story is something that has been rumored for quite some time, and now we finally have confirmation about Rocksteady's new game, and it's coming during DC fandom. So they put out a teaser, and I'm going to just read the recap from IGN. Batman Arkham series developer Rocksteady has announced that it is working on a Suicide Squad game and will announce further details on August 22nd as part of DC Fandom, DC Comics digital fan event. Rumors arose last month with a suggestion the game's full name might be Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, although the poster art featured in the announcement tweet says Suicide Squad. The logo, however, is arranged as a crosshair over Superman's head, so it certainly looks like the squad have it out for the league. Now, that's just a Super Smash Melee I'd like to play out in a video game.
I meant to cut that part out.
No, I like it. So let me show you guys what this means. But what do we think about it being a Suicide Squad game?
I think I was more surprised that they just randomly tweeted this because again I quote tweeted it and I was just like, I really thought this was a movie, and so I just kept scrolling past it because I didn't realize it was Rocksteady at first because I was tired. I was just like that half mornings, half awake and scrolling through your timeline, and I was like, oh, another Suicide Squad movie, whatever. Scroll, and then I keep seeing people in my timeline talking about it, and then I notice, I'm like, wait, Rocksteady? Wait, what? Wait, did they announce their game? Like on what? With the freaking Twitter post that looks like a movie poster?
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you that it kind of was an interesting way to do it, but I'm gonna admit, I'm not that hype about this. I've never been much of a Suicide Squad fan. I thought the movie was fine. I know a lot of people hated it. It's very divisive, like a lot of the DC movies are. I was just really looking forward to Rocksteady working on something original, but knowing that they're underneath the Warner Brothers Interactive umbrella, I'm sure that that's tougher for them to do with the sheer amount of IP that Warner Brothers controls and owns. I'm sure they're like, yo, we already own this stuff. It will cost less if you just use this. Well, I mean, cost less in air quotes. That's probably pretty relative. But Elyse, are you a big DC fan?
I mean, I am. I don't purport to be sort of a diehard kind of, know everything about every IP, but I was definitely intrigued to see this. Also, I keep pronouncing it as DC Fandom. I don't know why they shouldn't have capitalized the D. Yeah, I'm the worst with it. But in my mind, I'm like DC Fandom.
That's
August
what
22nd.
That's what I'm saying.
I'll be there.
Yeah, it is Fandom. That's right.
Yeah, and I think that's correct. Is that not correct?
Okay.
Oh, I thought it was DC Fandom.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure
I
it's
was just saying it wrong.
a dumb play
I
on
thought it was
words.
just
but
a cheeky thing, but then I emphasize it. For me, I do think a new Batman game would have generated a just wild response and huge buzz if it was specifically we're continuing with a new Arkham game, especially given the kind of drought that we've had in terms of Batman in cinema over the last several years and Batman in gaming. It just feels like it's about time. If this is really, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, no doubt Batman's going to be involved in some way. Or I could even see just, we're going to get that Batman cameo or level or appearance if it is strictly Suicide Squad. The image, I'm kind of with Steimer on this, it's not lackluster, but it just gave me a little bit of a pause because it's not the most compelling of images, kind of, white background Superman who hasn't really had an iconic presence in gaming since probably the N64. So it kind of raised a lot of question marks for me. And also, yeah, we have that Suicide Squad kind of remake coming out already, movie. And so it's what's happening? Why are we doing this? Are people really that do people really care that much about Suicide Squad that any of these properties are supposed to get us excited? I don't know. I do think that, hopefully Rocksteady has some cool mechanics in their pocket, because I do think the detective aspect of the Arkham games is by far the most interesting aspect of them. And that's just me personally valuing that over the action. But I'm trying to be optimistic.
I think this could be really cool, but I also think this is probably going to lean more toward Marvel's Avengers in terms of gameplay versus an old Batman Arkham game, because obviously with Suicide Squad I'm more excited to see, first of all, who they select for their Suicide Squad, because there's been so many different members.
Killer Croc.
Yeah, like, and I'm like, that could be so much fun to play with. Like, I really do think Rocksteady could have something special here, and it could be really interesting. Not everybody. I really like Deathstroke. I hope he's in there. But like, and I think like Harley Quinn was in the movie. She could be really fun to just like fucking smash people with a hammer. Maybe you'll get the hyenas like coming out. Like, there could be some really fun elements there. I think they led with Superman because of all the rumors of them doing a Superman game. I think that had to probably be like hey guys, it's not a Superman game, but guess what?
Wink.
That's where all like the leaks came from, that somebody saw some Superman art that is part of this Justice League element of the Suicide Squad. I definitely think they should not call it Kills the Justice League.
No, I don't think they will.
No, I'm confident that Warner Brothers marketing team is smarter than that. You never really want to use the word kill in a title of a video game if you can avoid it for a lot of obvious reasons. Even though there is a lot of violence in games, you kind of want to, leave a little mystery behind.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, Elyse. I also think that they could have had a really amazing moment of announcing another Batman game in the Arkham vein. But I think that the rumors that I've been hearing about the team at Rocksteady is that they were kind of done with Batman for a while.
Yeah,
They're
I get that.
We did our thing with Arkham. It was very good. And I do hope that they take some of the combat elements that I thought were so phenomenally achieved in the Arkham series, and a lot of games have taken inspiration from, and bring that in. I had to imagine that they will, but how that's going to work in a potential multiplayer setting, I think, is going to be exciting to see.
Sure.
Yeah.
Steimer, what was your reaction at the end of Justice League when they did that Joe Manganiello Deathstroke post credit? Were you like, this is the Manganiello we've been waiting to see? Deathstroke,
yes,
in yellow.
Daddy Deathstroke.
I mean,
best part of the whole movie, actually.
But props to you for saying his name. I don't even attempt it.
I'm like, I don't know how to say that.
I was hoping somebody else would.
But on Arrow, actually, I really liked, I don't remember the actor's name who played Deathstroke on Arrow, but he was also really good. So I'll take either of them. Wouldn't kick either out of bed, to be honest.
They'll just want a bad guy, right?
Did you guys have time with the Avengers beta?
I played a little bit and talked about my impressions on last week's episode on the Friday show. I didn't get a chance to play co-op, and I'm hoping to jump in the next weekend and play with some people to really kind of experience what that is like. But so far, it's a really fun game. I wasn't like wowed by everything I saw. It seems like a lot of pretty standard stuff. I think like some of the really cool moments are going to come for super fans of the Marvel universe, and kind of seeing all the Easter eggs that Crystal Dynamics has kind of baked in, via their partnership with the team at Marvel Games. So I think that that's going to be really fun for hardcore fans. But for someone like me who's just more of an MCU fan, I went into it thinking this is going to be a fun time, and it was, but I think that there's just, the bar has been set so unbelievably high for what we're supposed to expect, not only in multiplayer experiences, but in combat, in third-person combat specifically, and then, of course, in just pure graphical fidelity of what we're getting with games coming at the end of the console generation that we're currently at. And just looking at the games that have already been out this year, right, obviously I think TLU is in kind of a league of its own, and it is a wildly different game. But I think about even the game that I've been playing a lot of recently, Ghost of Tsushima, and just how fun the combat is in that game and how pretty that game is in certain aspects. And I'm like, is Crystal Dynamics going to be able to live up to the hype of all of the other games around it that have come out over the last couple of years? And that's to be determined.
Yeah. Also, Manu Bennett is the name of the guy who played Deathstroke. It's all in the chat. They're like, it's Manu Bennett. It's Manu Bennett. Like, okay.
If you're watching,
call me.
Did you get to play, Elyse?
No, I didn't, but I have to feel like that game probably relies a lot on multiplayer to really feel like a fun game and achieve what it wants. And I have to imagine that the the Suicide Squad game is maybe going to excel the most in that if you're playing with your friends more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they designed the game that way as well, but it's tough when you want a game to be multiplayer focused and forward, but also don't want to leave everybody who wants to do single player behind, particularly since they have a whole set of missions that you have to play single player, that you can only play by yourself. And then there's this other co-op side of it. It's going to be an interesting split on how it all comes together and how they're going to manage it. When we were talking, you know, I showed Steimer some footage and he said it looked a lot like kind of what they were doing with DCUO. And,
oh, yeah,
you know, if they bring in some of that, you know, MMO kind of energy to it, I think it could be a lot more successful.
Yeah, I was basically saying that it felt like, I'm assuming that my Marvel's Avenger experience will be similar to how I felt about DCUO, and that it didn't look very pretty. There were a lot of like sort of issues with the gameplay even sometimes. It was just like a little bit haphazard, but also just kind of fun to like go in there and dick around with your friends and just do a few raids or do a few strikes or whatever. And
yeah,
like, all right, sure, why
or
not?
if there's like, yeah, interesting like PvE, interesting events, weekend events and stuff to keep it interesting. Yeah. I'm definitely interested to play it. But I have to admit, like, just hearing people talk about it, I'm like, oh no, like, I hope that it takes an upswing.
Yeah, me too. And I think a lot of that will come with, you know, as they optimize the game post-launch, doing betas. I'm glad they are doing 3 beta weekends. I think that's going to be really helpful for the team as far as balancing not only server load, but optimizing any potential multiplayer bugs that they run across. But as with any of these games, you know, as Fallout guys? No, that's not right.
I wrote an email.
Just Fall Guys.
I wrote an email last week, and I called it Fallout Guys in the email, and then after I went, no, no, why did I call it that?
Yep.
It's the side band to Fallout Boy. It's just, you know, it's the sequel band.
Or as VG Stuff says in the chat, Fall Guys 76 is the next crossover that's coming. I think it's because it's Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. And then my brain sometimes just like, you know, moves the words around. But they had obviously some server issues and continue to have some, like every game at launch has with multiplayer. But
yes,
we will keep tabs on that. Brittany, you took some notes during the second episode of the Night City Wire for CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077, which was out this morning.
Yeah, I thought it was out tomorrow, so that was a nice surprise to wake up to. I hustled out of bed, I put my contacts in, I sat my ass right in this chair, and I watched it. And it was fine. I mean, there wasn't really any new information. I think the approach they're taking with this, especially in the second episode, is to more familiarize people with what Cyberpunk is and what the concepts are and why everyone's hyping this game up and what they're doing that's so special. So they deep dived into the life paths, the nomad, the street kid, the corpo, and they gave a little bit of an overview. They showed maybe a few minutes from each life path from the opening and saying, okay, if you're a nomad, this is where you're going to start. And there was some never before seen footage of, you know, nomads, for example, sitting around in a circle around a campfire, because that's the life path where you're kind of on your own in the desert, aka the Badlands. So that was a thing. It was nothing crazy, nothing to get your skirt all blown up, you know, and it like obscures your face because your skirt's so blown up. It didn't do that for me. But then after that,
skirt.
That had been a very big skirt, a maxi dress.
Yes.
And then they had Philip Wetber there from the Quest team. And again, he just talked more about the life paths and how your life path will affect what happens to you in the game. So in the beginning, you know, you're going to have certain dialogue options. And throughout the game too, they really stress that you're going to continue to have different dialogue options depending on what path you chose, you know. So if you're a street kid, for example, you're more familiar with the lore of Night City and you know how to wheel and deal in maybe a drug deal or something gone wrong. Or if you're a corpo, you know about the higher ups within like Arasaka Corporation, for example. So it'll give you additional tidbits of knowledge that you can use to your advantage. He talked about the Badlands and how you can visit these whether or not you're nomad, because there were some questions about after the preview came out, well, can I visit the Badlands even if I don't start off as a nomad? And the answer is yes. And there are quests that will take you out to the Badlands, or you're free to explore them whenever you want. And then it gave a little information on a fixer named Padre, who's a guy in Haywood. Nothing crazy there, just a little bit more lore about the game and the different fixers that you'll come across and how different fixers control different areas. And they're the ones, for those of you who don't know, fixers are the people who act as liaisons between, let's say like Steimer has a problem.
They're basically the quest givers.
Kind of, yeah.
That's
or Steimer has a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of. Like, lore, if you want to deep dive it, Steimer would have a problem. She'd come to me. I'd be the fixer. I would seek out someone like Andrea, who is, a cyberpunk. She would fix the deal. So, yeah, they're quest givers, but they kind of are trying to dig into the lore of, like, what they actually are and what they do. And then what I thought was interesting was Johnny Silverhand has a band named Samurai. And from the Wikipedia page, on July 2nd, 2019, it was announced that Refuse, which is a band, a Swedish hardcore punk band originating from Umeå and formed in 1991. So knowing that, Refuse will be partnering with video games developer CD Projekt Red, creating and recording original music for upcoming video game Cyberpunk. The members of Refuse will provide music for a fictitious band in the in-game universe, punk rock group Samurai, whose lead vocalist Johnny Silverhand will be interpreted by actor Keanu Reeves, blah, blah, blah. So essentially, yeah, they showed some of that recording process of Refused recording the music for Johnny Silverhand, and they talked about what that experience was like. So if you're interested in that, you can always go take a watch, I suppose. It was funny. He was talking about how he's so used to shouting and doing his thing as he is because he's the main vocalist, but they had I don't know what his title was, but the guy who's in charge of making sure that everything sounds right. And he's like, no, your English accent isn't correct. So the singer was talking about how that was kind of a complicated and frustrating experience for him. But I thought it was pretty interesting. And there's actually now on Spotify a song available that you can listen to. I'm trying to find out what the name of it is. I can't find it. But there is one out.
They have like 4 songs that have released. This is the 4th song.
Oh, I thought they said this was the first one out there now and that they're coming out with 3 more later.
Said there was 3 or what? Whatever. There are going to be songs. They'll be out.
Yeah. I mean, that's very, very... Oh, here we go.
I feel like Steimer should be doing promotion for Cyberpunk.
Bullshit.
I'm like,
so the song is
it'll come out eventually. It's fine. You'll play it.
A Like Supreme. It's now on Spotify. And there's 3 more coming out. I think she said one of them was called Ballad of the Butt Gravers, but I'm not sure. I think that would be amazing. If it was
beautiful song.
Yeah, and then they just talked more about, can you imagine, Ballad of the Butt Gravers. And then they went into the guns and the weapon mods and the different ways that works, and they just said episode 3 is coming soon. So yeah, like there's nothing again like super groundbreaking, but I think again it's just them trying to familiarize people with what this game is and what they're trying to accomplish. Like
they basically reiterated a lot of information that they've already talked about, but they just went slightly deeper and to show you specifics of how each of those different things would work or how they appear differently. So
yeah, and it's good for those who maybe didn't watch all the preview coverage that came out. Was that last month? I feel like it kind of goes over all that, but like Steimer said, just a little deeper.
Can I ask you guys, do you know what life path you plan to pursue? Because it feels like a really stressful decision to me that you don't want to make the wrong choice and then be stuck with it.
Yeah, because then you're probably going to do anywhere from 50 to 100 hours of this life path, right? And if you want to do it again, you have to start from the beginning.
So what I will probably do, because this is what I do for a lot of games, is I will start one with each, and I will play through the beginning section of it, and I will see which one I enjoy more, at least from that perspective. Obviously, it'll depend on, like, you know, as you go down the game, you'll see other stuff, but I usually pick that way. I'm like, either I like these characters, I don't like these characters, or I don't like at all what I'm doing right now. And then you kind of...
Yeah, I might go corporate just because I like the idea of being in the middle of everything in the city and kind of having access to some of that more high-powered stuff. I find that just a little bit more interesting as a player, but I can see Fixer's the 3rd one, right?
No, it's
Corporate,
Nomad,
Street Kid.
Nomad, Street Kid, and the corporate.
Oh, I mean, maybe Street Kid, but now corporate feels like where I want to go.
That sounds correct.
I feel corporate too.
Yeah.
Because, I do feel like you're at the epicenter as opposed to kind of being outside the conversation of the game, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do Nomad because I like the idea of experiencing Night City for the first time through V's eyes. I think that would be kind of fascinating. So I think for that perspective, I'll choose Nomad.
Yeah, I can't imagine myself choosing corporate, but like I said, I'll probably play all 3. I'm right now a little bit more torn between Nomad or Street Kid, just because I feel like as the Street Kid, you'll have a lot more pull or like sway with a lot of the deals you'll end up doing in the game. So that's the quote unquote benefit I could see there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you go Street Kid, Brittany goes Nomad, and I go corporate, we'll just have all the angles covered.
That's true.
Boom.
Nailed it.
Boom.
Did it. Well, as Britt mentioned, if you guys want to check out the full details, you can head to CD Projekt Red's website or their YouTube channel. You can watch the whole episode of Night City Wire for yourself. And now we get to talk about Apple once again. If you missed Friday's episode, it got a little spicy. I was talking about Microsoft and Apple and the beef that they currently have. And turns out lots of people have beef with Apple, including Facebook, who people, also love to have beef with. So this story is written up from The Verge, and it says that Facebook is joining Microsoft in condemning Apple's App Store policies. The social media company is launching its Facebook gaming app for iOS, primarily an app used to watch streamers play video games, but has had to remove the app's mini games feature to pass Apple's strict App Store approval process. Facebook isn't happy about the compromise. Quote, unfortunately, we had to remove gameplay functionality entirely in order to get Apple's approval of the standalone Facebook gaming app, meaning iOS users have an inferior experience to those using Android, said Sheryl Sandberg, Facebook's chief operating officer, in a press statement given to The Verge. Quote, we're staying focused on building communities for more than the 380 million people who play games on Facebook every month, whether Apple allows it in a standalone app or not. Facebook says that it has had the Facebook gaming app rejected multiple times by Apple in recent months. The company says that Apple has cited the App Store Guideline 4.7 to justify the rejections, claiming the primary purpose of the Facebook gaming app is to play games. Facebook has shared usage data from its Android Facebook gaming app that showed 95% of activity is primarily used to watch streams of games, much like Twitch is used on both iOS and Android. But of course, on Android, the app also includes a number of mini games from Facebook's Instant Games platform. That's what Apple won't allow. Apple is part of a number of U.S. tech companies currently facing potential antitrust action. The European Union has also opened up a formal antitrust investigation into Apple's App Store and Apple Pay practices.
Apple beef.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Apple beef. I mean, this is not surprising. I think Facebook and Apple have squared off on multiple occasions. And, Facebook wants its money too. I honestly, I have no love for Facebook trying to go after Apple for money. Literally zero.
No, don't
Zero
care.
love.
I know.
Do not care, Facebook.
They're like, oh,
let me play you.
Have a subpar experience. Meh. Yeah,
The smallest violin is playing a sad song for you right now.
Yeah, I'm just like, nobody cares, Facebook. Be quiet.
Yeah. Too bad they couldn't figure out their shit during their little antitrust hearing they were at. They should have just skirted off right then and there. But no.
Yeah. I mean, and people did bring up the antitrust stuff in the discussion that we had for Microsoft and Apple last week. And I would remind people that Microsoft has also been under the eye of the government for antitrust. So all of these companies, Microsoft, Apple, Facebook, none of them are actually the good guy in this scenario.
No, it's kind of funny. I feel like this is a really good movie in the making.
I'm like, are any big companies good guys? No, they aren't. They're all terrible.
Yeah. I'm not rooting for anyone. I mean, I guess the public language that Apple is using is that, well, we like to vet all of our games that come to our platform. And this is a position, and the same thing they're saying for Game Pass, or we can't vet these before they post to our platform because there's no system in place for that. But it's like, well, make a system in place for that. If that's your issue, and, is there not a system in place that you could come to an agreement to vet these games before they come to your platform? It sounds like this is, yes, it's coveting business practices and money to not achieve that. I saw this note that you have here that the app is primarily used to watch streams. And to me, the easy solution to Facebook would be, well, maybe it's two apps. If you want your Facebook mini games app, make that app. If you want your streaming app, make that app. I know it makes more sense to have all of your gaming features consolidated. But if you really want to exist on Apple, maybe that's a way to skirt this. I don't know. I don't know why I'm giving Facebook
Google,
tips.
and Microsoft need to all get together and be like, hey, Apple, let's figure out a way. We'll pay you we'll pay for the system in place or whatever. I don't know. You need to strike some sort of a business deal to figure it out.
Well, there is a system in place. Apple
I know,
already
but a
has
different one.
Right. Apple, that's Apple's point. Is they're like, we have a certification pipeline because if there's a game that is released onto the iOS store, it goes through that certification process. And what their argument is that these companies don't want to submit each of these games individually for certification in the pipeline because they want to be able to manage their catalog on their own without always having to get Apple's approval, which I 100% understand. But what I would say to them is, you own your own platform. Facebook has their own platform. Microsoft has their own platform. Maybe you just sell your games on your own platform instead of trying to sell it on Apple's platform. This is what it comes down to, is that these companies don't want to give Apple a piece of the pie to sell on their platform. So instead of just saying, okay, you know, we tried, we'll just continue to sell our Microsoft games on our Microsoft platform and take all of the money, which is like, you feel like that's what you should do anyway. They want access to the hundreds of millions of users in the iOS ecosystem. And Apple's like, yeah, goes back to the point I said, and I'm not going to belabor it because I went into great detail on Friday's episode, is that Apple's like, yeah, no, we get it. We understand why you want access to these users, but you have to pay us for that and then use our pipeline, and you don't want to. Or you just don't sell games. Like, I don't know why Facebook doesn't just focus on the fact that Facebook gaming is meant to watch streams. Just like Twitch has focused on the fact that the Twitch iOS app is for people to watch streams and not buy games.
Hey, remember when Facebook games were all the rage?
Yes, I do.
That was a weird
that
time in
farming
life.
one?
Yeah, the
Barn
late
Hub or
2000s.
whatever.
Yeah.
Farmville, yeah, it was huge.
Farmville.
Oh,
I did like the
Farmville.
SimCity one. The SimCity one was
Words with Friends, anybody?
Oh, I love Words with Friends. Easily addicted. Can I just say it's interesting how my allegiance flips so quickly because of my like internalized biases? Because when it was Games Pass and it was Apple saying like, no, like we don't, Microsoft won't subject themselves to our system, so we're not going to allow it. I was like, God damn you, Apple! Like, how could you do this to Microsoft? The people want Games Pass. And now that it's Facebook, I'm like, Facebook needs to get to stepping. Like, if they're not going to follow Apple's rule, like I immediately was like,
Yeah,
I recognize it at least.
I think we're going to see a lot of other companies. I don't know who else is trying to do this gaming cloud shenaniganry come forward, because right now, it's like you said, it's kind of like watching a whole bunch of bad guys beat up on each other, and it's kind of fun to like watch them stomp out of their pearly mansions and be like, oh yes, now is the time to beat up on Apple. We're all going to talk shit about Apple, billions of dollars, and I think we're just seeing people try to do the same thing. They're like, yeah,
and Apple's like, we're the little guy.
Yeah,
Apple's like, we're the number 2 most profitable company in the world.
Be nice.
Yeah, which we discovered. And it's interesting because Kami Kazam in chat says, why didn't these companies discuss these services with Apple before they were designing them? And first off, like, why would they? They have no obligation to. But more importantly, the argument that Microsoft made last week was you allow Netflix to stream games on your, Netflix to stream movies on your service, and you don't require that those movies all go through a certification process. And you're just discriminating against games as an interactive medium. And I thought that was kind of an interesting but also slightly not sustainable argument, from the sense that you don't go to Netflix to buy movies.
Right.
You don't buy, there's not another transaction that happens inside Netflix when you are logging into your account. You pay Netflix separately.
Also, even on Microsoft, you own a store. You have Xbox Live.
Yeah.
So you also require people to submit and go through a certification process in order to be on that. But guess what? Do you also go through Netflix movies? No, you don't. You just also have Netflix as an app on your console that you just allow. So you trying to then be like, but you allow Netflix? Like, so do you. Like, you're doing the exact same thing. You're just mad that they're doing the same thing to you that you're doing to everybody else.
I would love to see what would happen if Apple went to Microsoft and said, we want to put Apple Arcade on Xbox Live, and see what would happen in reverse. I have to imagine that Microsoft, would put the same procedures in place that Apple did for them. And then it's like, well, now you guys are both just being dumb. But again, my final point, and if you guys have final points you would like, please let me know, but it's Apple's platform. You play by their rules, or you don't put your stuff out on Apple's platform. Like, that's just the way the free market enterprise works in the United States. So that's all I have to say about that. Any other final thoughts?
No, I'm here for it. I just break out the popcorn. Let's watch these rich fucks fight.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, can we Hunger Games them? Because that would be pretty entertaining.
Oh, yes.
All the CEOs, let's go. We'll have at least a few less billionaires in the world by the time we're done.
And whoever loses doesn't actually get murdered. They just lose their fortune to charitable causes.
Exactly.
Boom.
Yeah.
It's just like we just drain all of your assets. Goodbye.
Yeah, exactly.
They only make $1 billion instead of $100 billion.
Yes.
I feel like that's generous of us.
Sorry.
Really.
Yeah, it really is. You still have $1 billion. You couldn't spend that if you tried.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to move on to a couple in case you missed it, so we can get to Dear WGG. Brittany, you saw some people tweeting about something Call of Duty related, question mark?
did, yeah. So Activision will probably announce Call of Duty very soon because they sent a whole bunch of big old crates to certain influencers / media. And the open date was today at 9 a.m., I believe. And so people are starting to open them online. And inside are whole ass projectors from the 1950s.
Oh.
With a whole bunch of slides inside. And I don't know if all the slides are the same or different, but people online are trying to piece it together and figure out what does it mean. It means we're getting Call of Duty Cold War, but what do I know? The person who I was following is Charlie Intel on Twitter, and they have a whole bunch of photos of what was inside the box. So it's kind of interesting to think about, but it sounds like, it'll be announced rather soon if you're all excited about it.
I mean, it makes sense because guess what? It's fall time a coming. Guess what that means?
It is.
Call of Duty.
Well,
Every year like clockwork.
Totally. And August is traditionally when we get the multiplayer reveal for Call of Duty, but they do usually announce it in May ahead of E3.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm not
assume that got a little bit COVIDed.
got delayed. I mean, why not take the advantage of the delay to announce when you want to? But it also leaks every year like clockwork too.
I mean, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, Elyse, are you super excited for this new Call of Duty?
To be completely honest, I'm happy for anybody that's excited, but it's really not in my wheelhouse at all. I'm curious, the whole Call of Duty Cold War element. I'm like, is it an alternate universe where there was Cold War combat? Like, is that what they're positioning it as?
Yeah, because Coder Chris is in the chat. Call of Duty Cold War, so no guns and just a lot of posturing by opposing governments.
Yeah, that to me is like the most intriguing part. Because right when you said that they got slides and things referencing the 1950s, I was like, what are they doing? So that I'm curious about.
Call of Duty has now changed. It is no longer a first-person shooter. It is now a management sim where you are
it's
like
trying to make your campaign the best.
Yeah, it's like Call of Diplomacy. Is more what I called it.
Nailed it.
But the slide projector is really cool. Like that's
yeah.
We've gotten some cool things in our day. I don't think any of us got this crate, but never a projector. It's that idea of what do you do with it when you're done? It reminds me of the Resident Evil 7 promo kit that I got from Capcom. They sent me a VHS player and a VHS tape, which is actually pretty cool. But now I have a VHS player, and I'm like,
now you have to have a yard sale to get rid of that shit again.
I know. Yeah, right.
Well, we have just a couple other in case you missed it. This was actually kind of a big one that I was surprised about, but also like probably in the works. So if you are familiar with Capcom and Street Fighter, you know the name Yoshinori Ono. He has been a staple at Capcom events for as long as I've been in the gaming community, and I had the pleasure of working with him on a Capcom series, and he and I always exchange hellos whenever we run into each other at events, but he announced that he is officially resigning from Capcom.
Wow.
So he posted a long tweet, and it's pretty much like his full statement here. And what it says is, so I'll just actually read just this little blurb from Polygon. Street Fighter producer and veteran Capcom developer Yoshinori Ono has resigned and will leave this summer, he announced on Sunday, so yesterday. He addressed criticism of this year's Capcom Pro Tournament structure. The format moved entirely online due to the coronavirus pandemic and revealed his impending departure. In his quote, it reads, "I've been with the Street Fighter brand for a long time. To those players who've been giving warm and kind support on the brand, especially over the past decade or so, as all of the activities on the Street Fighter brand regained sunshine and grew its liveliness." I feel like I accidentally cut something out here. Hold on. Let me pull up his actual statement.
Big old words.
There we go. Since Capcom Cup in 2013, the Capcom Pro Tour has become an annual event because of its continued tremendous support from the players and fighting game community members in the world. We at Capcom had many internal discussions about the format, and it took a long time for us to decide the format for this year. He continues on a little bit about that. Needless to say, there's been some criticisms. He kind of summarizes it by saying, "My heart is filled with appreciation to those that over the past decade or so, as all the activities of the Street Fighter brand regained sunshine. And now, after serving almost 30 years at Capcom, I'm leaving the company this summer. This means I will resign my position as the brand manager for Capcom's various titles, including Street Fighter."
Aww.
Yeah.
Ray of sunshine, that man.
He is. Ono-san is just one of those faces that is always so full of excitement and joy, and seeing him at Evo every year is always so great. And he's always bopping around E3. And I just, it's going to be a bummer that he's no longer associated with that. But maybe this is an opportunity for him potentially to take some time off and do some things for himself and his family. But also, like, for him to maybe explore working on something new and different.
Yeah, I was going to ask if there's anywhere you could envision him landing. Or maybe it's like an entirely new venture that he spearheads.
That's a great
question.
question.
He lands on a very sandy beach in Bora Bora with tropical waters and a nice breeze. Just hang out there for a while, sir. You put in the time. Relax.
Yes, go have a nice break first.
Yeah, have a break. But I feel like so many of the entrepreneurs that have been in games for multiple decades don't rest on their laurels. They take a break, but then they come back rearing ready to go. Like, I'm really excited to see what Reggie Fils-Aimé is going to come back and do, for example.
Yeah.
I know that he's been announced as being a board member or an advisor to a bunch of companies, but I would like to see him really spearhead an initiative. And perhaps, Ono-san is going to take this opportunity to look at where the FGC has evolved to where it is today and say, what can I do to elevate the FGC and bring fighting games, to the forefront of esports? I mean, I think that that's maybe an insurmountable task, but I think esports in general is an area that is doing nothing but growing and expanding, and FGC has long been kind of this little tiny corner of what esports has done, and it's a very vivacious corner, but it really is kind of dwarfed next to shooters and MOBAs, and maybe he wants to look at how to expand that and make it grow and make it bigger.
Mr. Yasman says, what if Ed Boon hires him?
Listen, I think that their experience is comparable. Like, when you're putting Street Fighter up against Mortal Kombat, I think they are equally important franchises.
I just think that there's 30 years of allegiance, though. Wouldn't that be just the most romantic thing if he threw it all away and he's like, I'm a Mortal Kombat man now?
That would maybe be the shock of shocks.
It would be funny. Yeah.
Just like he makes a video of him lighting all of his Street Fighter merchandise on fire and is like, I'm done with you. No. I don't see that as the thing that's happening. But continuing on, our final story, our little news blurb, I should say, is all about the Fallout guys.
Fallout guys.
Brooke, can you recap this little graphic that you put on screen for me?
I can. So Fallout guys, I literally did not mean to do that. I tried to play it off like it was a joke, but I literally fucked up, said Fallout guys. Fall Guys has sold 2 million copies on Steam. 1.5 million crowns have been grabbed, 60 million fallen Fall Guys, and 23 million hours watched on Twitch. Wowzers.
That
game's doing real good.
Impressive.
That's so exciting. I love this. It's such a wholesome little thing. I mean, look at these little dudes. Do these dudes have an actual name? Or are they just called Fall Guys?
They're probably just called Fall Guys.
I think they're just called Fall Guys. Right?
Okay. So there's this one wearing a little hamburger's costume. Oh my God.
Brittany, did you not watch any of our Fall Guys content from yesterday's stream?
I did watch it, Andrea, but I was going over the pass.
So that is part of the fast food pack, which is a DLC pack. But I do love how the Fall Guys Twitter account has been retweeting all of these Dream fan arts and also Dream collabs that brands are putting forth about
I saw a KFC one on there.
Yeah, let me go back to. I'll go back to the Fall Guys main Twitter page here, so we can kind of take a look at it. I'll scroll through, but yeah, so there's a bunch of different brands that have been submitting things, saying like hey, we want to.
Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, the Colonel Sanders is pretty good. Pretty good.
Oh no, Shrek.
Oh, I didn't see the Shrek. Hold on, I'm losing track of my mouse here.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. The 3 Wolf Moon Fall
that
Fall
one's
Guys
so
is
good.
So cute.
It's so cute. I want them to put that on a t-shirt.
That's pretty good. Hold on, let's keep going. Oh, fun. Oh, Shrek. Yes, I'm down for it. I'm here for it.
Problem is you can't keep opening these because then it's pain in the
I know, right? Oh, the magma outfit. I mean, there's a whole bunch. Oh, was this baked beans? Oh my God, why? Why baked beans?
A bean for a bean, it says.
So
But
funny.
it's yeah, because they kind of like look like little beans. But we had a blast playing it. Elyse, have you been playing Fall Guys at all?
It's so addictive, and it's been a while since I've had a game where you die and then you do that. Okay, one more try, one more try. Especially when it's a game where you have to reload into a game, so it's not even an immediate one more try. It like takes that extra step. I think it's exactly what we need right now. Like coming up, I'm over Animal Crossing, not in a negative way. It was wonderful, and it gave me everything, the 300 hours I needed in quarantine. But I do feel like Fallout, or oh my gosh, I'm doing that too. I feel like I did it in an email the other day. I feel like Fall Guys is kind of like now the game we need to sort of passively interact and hang out with people we know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I'm definitely past like Zoom fatigue and all that, where I'm the novelty of like hanging out with people in a Zoom chat. I'm like I'm kind of done with this, but just being like, jump on Fall Guys and let's all just be
Scream
dummies
at other people.
Yeah, it's
Pretty much.
I think it's like fantastic. It's so addictive.
We had some epic moments yesterday, as I mentioned at the top of the show. I saw Coder Chris say that Steimer's song was all I needed, and I would say to you, Coder Chris, which one? There were several that were
a few
gold
songs.
yesterday.
The tail one is one I saw too on Twitch. That one was good.
The No Zone?
Are
No,
you guys
wasn't there-
getting mad? Are you getting mad playing it?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. I had a few choice words for some
Oh, you
other
did?
folks during.
Oh,
What
yeah,
was-
but the
no, you said
furry
you-
one when you were chasing
The
with the
furry
tail.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the end, you're like, you're a dumb bitch or something
Yeah.
like that.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I have a bit of road rage, but in Fall Guys.
I like don't have I feel like I don't have the streak I need to be like really good at it, which is I'm not necessarily like targeting other people, or like, for example, in the level where it's like stand on there's the image on the monitor,
the color
and you
match
just-
thing or the fruit match
yeah, and you have to stand on the correct icon. I don't try to push people off. I'm just trying to get my own little space in the world.
Yes.
Make it through myself. I'm not trying to, take anybody else down. I'm like, I'm just gonna do my thing, and I feel like that's a streak that I'm missing to truly like excel at this game.
You're just not being a dick. It's going to hold you back.
But it's part of the game. I
only-
feel like people that play that way, it's not even being a dick. That's just how the game's supposed to be played, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I just don't have it.
Yeah,
Don't have it in
that's
you.
fair.
Yeah, the griefing aspect of the game is simultaneously funny and infuriating, and I'm glad though that my primary platform is on console, because we're not having what seems to be rampant cheating problems that are happening on PC, because some really enterprising PC players have figured out ways to kind of break the game, including with gamer tags and how they had to make everybody generic Fall Guy with a set of numbers because people were changing their names to be really terrible things. And I'm like, why can't we just be
I know.
respectful human beings? Is that so hard to ask?
It's such a wholesome game.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah,
and
it is.
I'm with you. Wholesome. All right, so let's ask a couple of questions. I know we only have a few minutes left in the show, but Elyse, I would personally like to know, if you could make any dream content, what would producer Elyse want to make? Like, what is the one thing that you're like, I've always wanted to make this show, but I haven't gotten the opportunity to yet?
It sucks because like there are shows that I've pitched to Rooster Teeth that due to budget or some or the other constraint haven't been able to get made, but I probably shouldn't talk about them publicly because
Yeah.
That's fair.
But like for me, I mean, like personal stuff aside from outside of gaming, I've always wanted to work in a sitcom writer's room. Like that to me is kind of one of the dream jobs. But in terms of like, the space that we're in and making content, I'll just say, I think that if someone were to make a show that was like American Gladiators mixed with, Legends of the Hidden Temple,
Dude.
and that would be pretty awesome. I mean, somebody might have tried to make that out. But,
Have you seen Titan
it's
Games?
probably very expensive. Yes, I have. And James is really, really into it because anything that involves like someone who is incredibly strong, he's into. He's like, yes, let's just watch this. And I watched some of the Titan Games wasn't the Sylvester Stallone
No, that's
one
the one
was
with The
it?
Rock and Golden Boy.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yes.
so that's The Rock's essentially version of American Ninja Warrior. So it's not quite, American
Sorry.
Gladiators. There's not really like a lot of like head-to-head stuff where people are going against, other people, but they do like race through an obstacle course. So
I did see that. I do think that if somebody were to take that element and then add a lot of story and character and personality to it, it would be really fun. Yeah, it's tough in quarantine now to think of like these big dream ideas too. I know I'm sure you guys have been there where you're like, wow, we had all this stuff planned and now it's sort of on the back burner or down the drain.
Mm-hmm.
So
I actually just watched Legends of the Hidden Temple, an old rerun, a couple days ago. That's such a good show.
like on TV?
Yeah, on YouTube.
Oh.
I was a little board. I'm like, what can I do?
You're like,
I'll
let's see how
I'll
those
just watch this.
Jaguars are doing.
Oh yeah, the white snakes. Was that the other? Oh man,
There were
that'd be
lots.
awesome.
What, green Jaguars?
I don't know
Maybe.
what
Or
you're talking
blue?
about.
Were they green or blue?
Legends of the Hidden Temple. Did you ever watch that?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I'm gonna
Yeah.
admit.
Each team had a different color and an animal, so it was
Yeah.
like the purple monkeys or something. Like I don't remember the colors associated with the animals, but they all had a color and an animal.
Yeah, that's a good show.
I do think like Fall Guys is fulfilling that MXE void. Definitely.
MXC. Oh my God, yes. Oh, I love that show.
This
So
is
good.
definitely going over my head now.
It's okay. MXC, some of the funniest shit you'll ever watch.
Yeah, it was basically Fall Guys but with humans. Where like it was a Japanese game show and it was from the 80s, I think, and it was like, okay, there are 30 people that are just running this course at the same time. And they have to jump over these obstacles, or like there's the Fall Guys level where you have to dive through the wall and you have to hope you choose the wall that is breakable, collapsible.
Yeah.
It's like courses like that, but I definitely
They did something similar here called Wipeout too. It ran for a few years.
I saw
Oh
Wipeout.
yeah,
Yeah.
I saw Wipeout for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Japanese game shows are super crazy and out of control in the best way. I mean, that's where Ninja Warrior came from.
oh yeah.
So
Yeah, that's always a fun show to watch because you're just like, yeah, if you like watching strong people, you definitely would like watching American Ninja Warrior. You're just like, what are you doing? How are you doing this?
Yeah.
it's always so amazing to me that there's some people that go onto the course that are clearly very in shape, but there's just specific obstacles that just trip people up, and then you'll get like this one like super nimble person that like runs through and just like breezes through that obstacle, and you're like, man.
Well, ninjas weren't beefy.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true.
like they weren't
Yeah.
like bodybuilders. They were light and nimble, and it's like one of those things where if you weigh a little too much, even if it's muscle, you having to pull yourself up on a thing like takes infinitely more effort than somebody who's a little bit smaller.
That's true. That's a very good point. I do want to give just a shout out. We don't normally do this, to Punkdefied, who gifted 10 subs while we were talking to Elyse about her dream show of Indiana Jones American Gladiators mashup. So thank you for that. But that does bring us to the end of the show. Elyse, this was wonderful. Thank you so much for coming by and doing the show with us today. We would love to have you back, and we would also love a rematch, I think. I think I was particularly a little bitter that we lost to that one question at the end.
It was so close.
I would love it too. And I mean, I guess the scoring system doesn't always work in your favor. So I do feel like you all played a better game than we did, but then just kind of got like beefed at the end. I would love it. You were all so good on that. And it was the kind of thing where you had like endless lists of answers, which we like were just stretching. But thank you so much for having me on this. It was great. I am so awkward and on the remote stuff in quarantine, so I'm so sorry.
You're not awkward at all. What are you talking about?
No, it's so I don't know if you guys have gotten used to it, but I still haven't gotten used to the trying to not speak over somebody or when to interject.
Well,
sorry, audio listeners.
No, you don't have to be sorry. I mean, the great news is that because I edit the audio, a lot of that is something that we can work around. But What's Good Games has been shooting our video like this since What's Good Games launched in May of 2017. And so when the pandemic happened and we saw all of our peers in the industry, and also like broadcast professionals scrambling to do it all remotely, we're over here like, LOL, we've been doing this for years. We know exactly how tough it is. But it does take some practice to get to know kind of like where the delays happen. And as you know, as somebody who's worked on teams in panel shows for a long time, you kind of have to develop that synergy with your co-hosts as well, and kind of feeling you know, where it's okay to kind of step in and where it's not. And sometimes you just got to step on people and then apologize for it. I know I'm certainly guilty of that. And it's not intentional most of the time because, you know, as you mentioned, internet is hard. And video on internet is double hard.
I always like to just do a quick interjection and then I bounce out of it. I'm like, you go back to do what you were saying. I'm just gonna make it funny right here. I just leave that. Okay, bye.
Sometimes Cyber, she puts up her like little statement finger. She's like,
I'm like, I'm going to interrupt you, but it's gonna be quick and you'll be able to go back to what you were saying in just a second.
Yeah, you're like, Steimer's like a comedy ninja. She's like,
oh, thank you.
That's
very nice.
Ever comedy ninja. That's fucking perfect for you.
That's your new lower third, I think.
It is comedy ninja.
You're no longer the salty one. You're now the comedy ninja.
I like this. I like this a lot.
I like it too.
It's a great evolution.
It's a good rebrand.
Well, I mean, be salty comedy ninja.
Oh, okay.
We can combine them.
We can do all three.
Sure. Why not?
I like it. So Elyse, where can people find you and all of the content that you work on?
So on Funhaus, youtube.com/funhaus, and roosterteeth.com on the Funhaus page. I'm on Twitter at Elyse Willems and IG there too. And then James, who is my coworker at Funhaus and incidentally husband, we also do some stuff just for fun on his YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/JamesWillems stuff. We do like trivia nights, and that mostly because of quarantine boredom. So yeah, that's the whole thing.
Awesome. And we'll put those links in the notes for you guys. If you want to go check out all of their content, please do. It's a lot of good quality content over there. And we look forward to setting up more content with you in the future. But for now, we're going to say goodbye and hope that you guys enjoy the rest of your day. We will see you later. Bye, everybody.